was pretty late to the compact luxury crossover space when it introduced the original XC60 back in 2009. Now, nearly 10 years later, there's finally an all-new version, and this week the company has sent me over the flagship of the lineup. This is a turbocharged, supercharged, electrified plug-in hybrid known as the T8. So is this all-new version worth the wait? That's what we're here to find out. So if you guys remember my review on the all-new XC90, you'll remember that I was very impressed with that car. In fact, Volvo has kind of been killing it with all their recent redesigns, and the XC60 takes everything we loved about the XC90 and puts it into a smaller package. And we've been waiting a long time for an all-new version. You can see the design takes all the design languages we've seen from the new XC90. It's now riding on the same SPA platform, which stands for Scalable Product Architecture. You have the signature LED daytime running lights with full LED headlights as standard. You can see the distinctive Thor's hammer in the design for the LEDs. They're a little different than the 90 though, because they kind of go into the actual grille. And overall, it's a very classy looking car that I think will age particularly well. Now, my tester is the Inscription trim. It's the top of the line model. There's 3 different trims and 3 different engines. The Inscription will come standard with these 20-inch alloy wheels, which I think look fantastic. They're a little dirty right now because of all the rain. You can choose between like a 19 or an 18 if you guys go for the base Momentum or the sportier R design. Now, because this now rides on the SPA platform, it's bigger than the old one. The wheelbase has been stretched about 3 inches. It's about 112 inches long, and the overall length is about 2 inches longer as well. It's about 184 inches long. Dead heat with like an Acura RDX, which is what this vehicle kind of competes with. Now, the rest of the silhouette and the shape I think is very attractive. It's a very practical looking car. And when you look at the rear of the XC60, you can see all the current Volvo design language again is kind of coming into play here. The LED taillights are different than the 90 because they kind of go into the actual tailgate portion. They're full LED taillights. You can see with the T8 model, it gives you the T8 badge with the twin charge. It's a very unique driving car, and I also really like the integrated dual exhaust. This one, you can also specify like a quad exhaust outlet if you guys go for like a sport package that Volvo offers as like an exterior design. But I mean, overall, I think Volvo's done a really good job with the exterior design. And this is the Volvo's best seller. They sell about 25,000 units annually. And honestly, with this all new version, I wouldn't be surprised to see Volvo probably double those sales since this is basically the first year of production for this all new version. Now, looking at the tailgate, now of course this car has a power operated tailgate with the hands-free function. Volvo's kind of kept the cargo capacity the same. You're looking at around 27.5 cubic feet of space with the seats up. Fold them down, it doubles to just under 60 cubic feet. It's basically the same from what you get in the BMW X3, the Acura RDX, the Mercedes GLC gives you a little bit less. When you look underneath the floor here, there's a little bit of storage. There's no temporary spare because this is the plug-in version. This is where you kind of put the level 1 charger with this would come with. And because my tester has the air suspension, you can also lower and raise the actual suspension from buttons back here to help you get into the low floor. And I also really like the fact that if you push this button here, the seats also electrically fold down. They don't actually fold up electrically, but I think it's a really cool feature that this particular one gives you because I have a convenience package. So just like the XC90 I showed you guys last year, the XC60 will come standard with the smart key access system with push button start. You can see Volvo does a beautiful key fob. All the buttons are actually on the side. It's wrapped in the same gorgeous leather that you guys have for the interior. So if you get a beige interior, the key will change to a beige color or a black, and likewise and so forth. There's now actually a remote start on the key fob itself. But nevertheless, it's a very nice key, very nice high quality detail that Volvo gives you when you guys purchase one. Now, when you approach the driver's door handle, you can see there's a little pad here. Touch your finger there with the key fob on you, it'll lock the doors. The mirrors will also electrically fold. To unlock it, there's a sensor on the back of the handle. Just touch it, and that unlocks the door for you. Now, looking at the interior of the all-new XC60, you can see you'll just be blown away, especially if you guys are coming from the previous generation or you don't really have too much experience with all the new Volvo products. I took everything that I loved about the XC90 and just put it into a smaller package. My Inscription model has the upgraded luxury package, so it has premium brown Nappa leather seats. They're heated and cooled, and they have a backrest massage function where it has all 4 different modes of massage. The seats are like 16-way one-way power adjustment, so they're really comfortable seats. Volvo is very known for high quality seats, great seats, and this is no exception in the all-new XC60. Now stepping inside, it has the perfect step-in height, which is what you expect in a vehicle in this segment, and then when you shut the door, it sounds nice and solid. This is the lovely SPA platform that I mentioned earlier, so it's a really strong, really high quality platform, and that's kind of the basis with any luxury SUV. Now when you want to start the vehicle up, put your foot on the brake. There's actually no button here. Instead, there's a little switch here, or a little toggle. You toggle it to the right to start the vehicle up with your foot on the brake. Now because I have the T8 model, it's a hybrid, so it doesn't actually have a starter hiccup noise. Instead, you just have all the electronics come on. It says ready in the instrument panel in the right side. And then the gauges, it's a full 12.3 inch LCD display. You get that on this high trim model level like mine. The lower trims will have like an 8-inch display with traditional analog and speedometer needles on the left and the right. So when you start to look at the rest of the interior on the all-new XC60, you can see the materials in here will basically just blow you away. It even smells really nice in here. It kind of has that really nice, expensive, Swedish, high-quality smell that I smelled in the XC90, so it kind of makes a really great first impression. Now you can see my tester, being the top of the line, has an entirely leather-stitched dashboard. It's leather on the upper portion here, leather over here. There's some genuine light grain wood finish here. You can also get an aluminum look if you guys prefer that. It's soft touch down here. The glove compartment is actually hard touch plastic there, but it is damped. It's lined with felt. It's a very gigantic size. I mean, overall, you're getting most of the features in here as the XC90. Now, the door panels I am noticing aren't quite as nice as the XC90. It's still soft touch here and there. There's an aluminum door handle. I love the metal speaker covers you guys get when you option for the Bowers & Wilkins audio, which is 15 speakers, 1400 watts of power. There's some nice stitched leather here on the armrest. The windows are one-touch automatic, up, down for all four. You kind of expect that. And there's lots of storage in here. There's some soft touch materials on the door panels here on the lower portion. Cup holders right there. The steering wheel, it's the same Volvo steering wheel that we've seen on the new XC90. It's got very nice bolstering extensions. The leather feels good. The steering itself is electric. It's a tilt telescoping wheel. However, I'm surprised it's not power adjustment. Volvo still doesn't do a power adjustment. A lot of its competitors give you that, especially at this price point, so I see that as a little bit of a cost-cutting measure. One of the few negatives in this interior. There's also no paddle shifters. You guys get that on the R design model, not this inscription trim. And even the switchgear, it just has a nice high-quality tactile feel. It feels expensive. Everything in here looks and feels nice. Now, looking at the center console here, my tester is the T8, so it gives you a unique shifter. This is the Orifice Crystal Shifter. And I don't really love the way the shifter works. If you want to put it in reverse, for example, you have to actually put your foot on the brake and then click this twice to go into reverse. And then when you do that, you can see the backup camera is just incredible. The resolution is one of the best in the industry. You get a nice 360 top-down view here, which is, again, one of the best cameras I've seen in the industry, rivaling all the European brands, which is definitely important. It's got front and rear parking sensors. This vehicle will also perpendicularly and parallel park itself for you if you guys wanted to do that. To go into drive, you have to kick back on this twice. Again, just kind of annoying. If you want to put it into park, you push this P button here, it puts it into park. Now, looking at the rest of the infotainment system here, this is the 8-inch, or the 9-inch Volvo Sensus Connect infotainment system. It's a tablet-like orientation, kind of like an iPad. The graphics are incredible. They look great. Volvo has updated this slightly from the XC90, and mostly they've just beefed up the processing speed. This thing responds a little bit quicker. It has all the usual sources in here. This is basically your home screen here. And I do notice it's a little bit faster versus the XC90. It's still a little bit slow to start up in the very beginning when you boot it up, but when you can see here all your different sources here, you've got your navigation, audio information, Apple CarPlay, your phone information. Every time you click on something, you can see here it enlarges it. You can see this is the navigation system. It's the Volvo head unit here, the GPS head unit. Not quite as nice looking as what you might get in an Audi with its Apple CarPlay. I'm sorry, with its Google Earth views, but this is still very nice. It's very, very handy. You can also maximize the screen, where it'll give you a huge orientation. You can also, it works just like a tablet, and it's relatively quick here, so I'm really impressed with this overall. Now, if you want to shrink this back down, we'll go over here. This is where your phone information is. Go over here, click on that. That'll bring up your Apple CarPlay. Volvo is very unique in the fact that when you bring up Apple CarPlay, it doesn't actually take up the entire screen, which is nice. That allows you to kind of use or see your audio information here, or your navigation information, which is good. I mean, this is basically all the technology that one could ask for, and Volvo just packs it into this little system here it works very well. There's a little bit of a learning curve. To access your heated seat controls or your heated steering wheel or cooled controls, they're all down here. You can see you just tap there and it populates that. This is kind of where you have to wait for it to populate. Kind of an annoying feature. The massage function is accessed from the seat control here. There's a button on the actual lower seat switch, and then when you do that, it'll populate that. You can turn on the massage here. You can see there's different modes. It always defaults to this mode. I actually really like it on advanced. That's my favorite. And then you can change the intensity, the speed, however you want. This will always pop up. It'll do the same thing on the passenger side whenever they click their massaging seat controls. It's just a really elaborate massage, really good system. It just takes a little bit of time to get used to. You can see here all your different applications are right there. You can access your audio information, your car status, driver performance, and then your different apps over here. So again, this is something that you will constantly play with when you're in the car, which is a great thing that this car will basically drive itself, because you have to sit here and play with all the different infotainment options. It'll keep you busy for that time being. Now down here, there's some different controls here. These are all the actual buttons for the infotainment system. This controls your volume control here. There's a skip button here, a rewind button. There's your hazard switch, your defrost. And then down here, you can see this access your different drive modes. When you push down on this and then move the wheel, it tells you your different drive modes that you want. It'll always default to hybrid mode. Pure mode is kind of like an eco mode. All-wheel drive will automatically split the torque 50-50. As you guys know, this is an electronic all-wheel drive system where there's actual no rear drive shaft. The rear wheels are powered by the electric motor. And then power is like a sport driving mode. Off-road actually will raise the vehicle. You can see when you select the different modes, the car will start to level itself up, and it'll raise the vehicle by about 2 inches when you guys put it into an off-road mode, which is definitely cool. It doesn't work when you guys are driving at higher speeds. It'll default back to its normal suspension setup. But I mean, the amount of technology here is just incredible. There's an electronic parking brake. There is your automatic brake hold function. Over here, your center console is not quite as large as I'd like it to be because the batteries are taking up space here. But you can see there's 2 USB ports down here. There's an aux port in there. Your heated seat controls for the rear are down here. The armrest is nice and padded. It doesn't adjust. It doesn't really need to. It's got a good angle. The panoramic sunroof that you're seeing here is standard on all XC60 trims. And then the headliner here is made from a nice woven material. Not the same kind of leather stitch that you had on the XC60 or XC90. But overall, the rest of the interior is very nice. I mean, this interior, to me, has the wow factor that I'm looking for, and it feels a lot more warm and just comforting versus what you might get in some of the German and Japanese competitors. So I think a lot of you are going to get into the XC60 and be very wowed by the interior. So in this segment of vehicle, the XC60 has always been more of the roomier entry, and for this all-new version, that kind of still stays in place here. The back seat is surprisingly roomy, even though this is a compact crossover by dimensions. Now, this is basically where the front seat is to drive on the passenger side for me, and I have plenty of legroom. There's actually a really good foot space under here. Now, unfortunately for the middle seat passenger, there is a nice hump here, so you're not going to really be liking that too much. But if you pull down the armrest here, you can see there's some cup holders. There's a little bit of storage underneath here. And then the back seats, they give you a heated rear seat function, which is 3-level. I'm surprised to say that there's no like manual sunshades here, but you do have a nice view out of the panoramic sunroof, which is nice. And the seat itself is very comfortable. It's really supportive. So I think for 2 people, you're gonna be plenty happy if you guys are not too tall of an adult. Now, since this is the plug-in version, you're probably wondering, where do you actually plug it in? The door to actually do that is right here on the driver's side front fender, and you can see it's the standard kind of plug that you guys see on all other plug-in vehicles. Volvo offers either a level 1 or a level 2 charge port. Now, I couldn't really find the actual charge times for this vehicle, but it does come with a level 1 when you buy the vehicle. And what I found is when I plugged it into a level 1 in my garage, it took about overnight to charge, so about at least 8 hours, and that gave you 18 miles of range. Now, I did find a level 2 charger. It only took about maybe 2 to 3 hours to charge on level 2. Because it's a smaller battery, it doesn't take quite as long as something like a Chevrolet Bolt, which takes 8 hours on a level 2 charger. So as I mentioned earlier, this is a supercharged, turbocharged, and electrified plug-in hybrid. So you're probably wondering what kind of complicated crap is going on underneath the hood of this T8 model. And you can see, first of all, just like every other Volvo trademark, the hood opens up huge. So it really gives you access to the engine compartment, which may be necessary for the service for this thing. But you can see looking underneath here, it's kind of not really much to look at. It's a little plasticky. There's a lot of plastic covering it. But what you're looking at is essentially a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. I know what you're thinking, just 2 liters in this SUV. However, it's turbocharged, as I mentioned, and it's supercharged, and it has an electric motor system. Now, the engine on its own makes about 313 horsepower, about the same as what you get in the T6 model. Now, because this is the T8, you also have an electric motor that kicks in with another 87 horsepower. It's a 10.4 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery system, which isn't too big, but this is kind of just designed to assist the vehicle. It also gives you about 18 miles of electric-only range, which could be enough if you guys just plan to just drive this to and from a short distance from work. Now, combined output for this particular configuration is 400 horsepower and 472 pound-feet of torque, which makes it basically right in line with competitors like an Audi SQ5 or a Mercedes-AMG GLC 43. Now, if you guys don't need this much, power or technology, you can drop down to the T6, which has this engine minus the hybrid system, which is 316 horsepower. And then the T5 is the base model, which has 250 horsepower. It's this engine minus the supercharger, so it's just turbocharged. Now, you probably expect this one to have the best fuel economy, and it has pretty good gas mileage. It's rated at 28 in the city, 26 on the highway, and 26 combined. That's actually less than what you get in the T6 and the T5 combined mileage, so you're not necessarily buying this for fuel economy. You are getting the electric range, but all XC60s will come standard with all-wheel drive, which is an upgrade from the previous model, which offered front drive, and they all go out through an 8-speed automatic. This one weighs pretty hefty. It's about 400 pounds heavier than the T6 model. It's just around 4,500 pounds, but let's get out on the road and see how it all performs. So the last time I drove the XC60, it was about 2 years ago. It was the old model. It was a 2017 XC60 T6 Inscription, which still had the same turbo supercharged 4-cylinder that this one has, but it had less power. It was the old platform. Now, as I said earlier, this has moved to the SPA platform, the Scalable Product Architecture platform, the same one that underpins the excellent larger Volvo XC90. And basically, Volvo just took the same platform and they shrunk it. And this platform feels very, very solid. I mean, the old model, I was very impressed with how that one felt. I mean, it dated back to 2010, but it still drove like a newer, much more solid vehicle. This kind of just takes it up to another level, and it really kind of sets the benchmark for this segment. I mean, I've driven the Q5, I drove the Mercedes GLC, I haven't driven the latest X4, but compare this to all the Japanese rivals, and the Volvo comes across as very impressive. And add into the fact that it's got that Swedish charm, that Swedish character, and there's a reason why this one should hold its place as Volvo's best-selling model in the US lineup. Now, first setting off in the T8 model, this is the top of the food chain, the turbo, supercharged, and electrified version. And Volvo has basically said they're going to be embracing electrification. Their all-new Polestar high-performance models are going to be basically based off this same platform architecture. And this vehicle is a family SUV, but when you add the T8, powertrain, how does it actually feel out on the road? Does it provide, the levels of sports sedan kind of performance that myself as an enthusiast look for? Well, that's what I'm going to find out here when we get out on the road. Oh my God. Okay, so I never got a chance to drive the T8 model in the XC90. However, this one is lighter and smaller than the XC90, and it has 400 horsepower and 472 pound-feet of torque. Oh, God, this thing is so fast. This feels quicker than the SQ5 that I drove last year, and that thing was already plenty quick with 354 horsepower. Now, what it's missing from the SQ5 is the noise. I mean, that thing had a very nice sounding twin turbo or turbocharged V6. Well, this one still has that 4-cylinder, groan that I don't particularly love. But really, when I drive the T8 model, I forget that this is a hybrid. It drives just like the T6 Volvo XC90 that I drove, but with added boost. I mean, it's got an additional 87 horsepower. It's got like over 150 more pound-feet of torque, basically. And this is just insane how quick this thing is. Oh, God. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. The soccer moms are going to drive this and they're going to be shocked at how fast it is. Now, I have it in sport power mode here, which gives you a tack and it kind of lowers the air suspension. And we're going to floor it from a stop. Oh, 1 Jesus. Now, Volvo says this particular combination will get to 60 in under 5 seconds. 4.9 seconds is what they basically rated it at, and it feels every bit as quick. It feels like a half second quicker than the last SQ5 that I drove, which is rated at around 5.1 seconds, but to me it felt closer to like 5.4, especially compared to this, the instant thrust of the torque. I mean, plus the electric motor, the supercharger, the turbocharger. I mean, this is just insane. Now, where the XC60 T8 kind of falls down in terms of satisfying me as an enthusiast is the actual handling. The steering in this car is just far too light. It doesn't give you much feedback at all. And the suspension, even though it's got the air suspension that's optional on my tester, it's lowered down, it's still really soft. I mean, the ride quality I think is actually really good. I've heard some people complain that it's too stiff. Maybe by Volvo standards, but it's not as firm as what I felt in the SQ5. And I drove the GLC 43, the AMG model, and that was harsher still. This kind of strikes a nice balance. It's definitely on the softer end, so I don't consider this to be a Polestar. The T8 is not a replacement for a Polestar Volvo. What it does give you is plenty of power, lots of luxury. I mean, right now I'm sitting here getting the best massage and that I've felt in a production car. Volvo has amazing seats, and I love the massage function. They're heated and cooled. You have great visibility. You have, really good sight lines. It's just easy to drive this car. It's a really, comfortable, like luxurious car that really spoils the hell out of you if you guys can actually afford to own something like this. And I'm struggling to find things I don't like about it. I mean, it's a great, perfect size. It's got really great driver assistance tech. My tester has all the options on it. So it has the Volvo Pilot Assist system, which kind of approaches, Tesla Autopilot or Cadillac Super Cruise levels. This one has one of the best in terms of the lane centering capabilities, whereas you have the adaptive cruise on, it'll center you, follow the gentle curves, keep you in the lane. It'll also follow the car in front of you at a very good following distance where it's not too jerky. Really, there are a couple of things I don't love about this car. The brakes on the T8 are a little grabby because this is a plug-in hybrid, so you kind of have to get used to that. And I found the shifter to be a little annoying because of the crystal shifter. You have to kind of always tap it forward and back multiple times to get into the gear. I kind of just want to be able to pull it all the way back until it clicks, like some of its competitors, versus having to tap it multiple times. Now, another interesting aspect of the T8 is it's got what Volvo calls an E, electronic all-wheel drive system. What that means is there's no actual physical drive shaft connecting the front tires to the rear tires. The rear tires are driven by the electric motor, which is powered by a 10.4 kilowatt hour battery system, which is pretty small by electric motor standards. This is not designed to be a full electric car like you would get in like a Tesla or, a Nissan Leaf, which has a bigger battery, or a Chevrolet Bolt. This is, just kind of like an assist system where it can run on electric power alone, although I did find that I wasn't able to get it to drive an electric power alone. I mean, you can switch over the drive modes here. When you go to Pure, for example, this is supposed to give you the most, it's like an eco mode. Pure kind of settles down the engine. It tries to force it to drive on electric power most of the time, and then the tachometer disappears and it shows you a little display here that shows a lightning bolt and it shows a droplet of fuel. And right now it's showing that the gas engine is shut off. It's driving mostly on the electric motor, and there's kind of a range here. If I'm very careful with my throttle applications, it'll just kind of only use the electric power until I really put my foot down, then it wakes up the gas engine. And you can hear it come on, although it is pretty seamless. What you'll just hear is the gas engine switching on. Now, Volvo says this car will get, or the EPA says this car will do about 18 miles on a full charge alone. That's a really low amount of range, basically what you're going to get in like a Toyota Prius Prime. I think that's going to be enough if you guys have a short enough commute. There's a lot of people that do have short enough commutes like that where you could theoretically run this car on electric power alone. It's really nice though when you do have it in Pure, have it just cruise along in electric only mode. It kind of reminds you again, I bought the plug-in hybrid. It feels a little bit more special in that regard. Now in terms of the actual fuel economy, when you guys have the gas engine on, the EPA rates this car at just 26 miles per gallon combined. That's all I was able to find. It doesn't give you a city, it doesn't give you a highway. What that means, I guess that means it gives you 26, 26, and 26 combined. The T6 gas-only model, that one gets about 23 miles per gallon combined. So you get a 3 mpg increase versus the T8. which definitely, you know, is better. However, there is an $8,000 price difference between this car and the T6, so you're going to be paying for that. However, if you guys are trying to purchase this vehicle as of this filming in February 2018, there is a $5,000 federal tax credit that's available from the government, which you'll get at the end of the year, which then kind of bridges the price difference to about $3,000, which I think this makes this thing a relatively good deal if you guys want, you know, the highest technology Volvo offers. It's definitely a sluggish car off the line in pure, and I did find that the 8-speed automatic, it has really smooth shifts, but because it's, you know, it's got all these different powertrain sources talking to each other, the 8-speed can get a little confused, and then it'll get a little buggy and shift a little erratically, which is strange, a strange feeling, but I only noticed that when I was really heavy with the throttle applications, which I imagine most of you won't actually do. Other than that, if you just drive this thing normally, it's a really smooth, really luxurious, really comfortable car. And I think it's definitely one of the most impressive small, compact luxury SUVs that money can buy on the market today. So if you guys remember, a couple of years ago, Volvo actually loaned me the old model, a 2017 XC60, and I was relatively impressed with it. Despite it being on a really old platform, it was still a very competitive vehicle. Now, after spending a week with the all-new version, I have to say Volvo has reset the bar on what your expectations should be on a compact crossover. It has a very refined ride quality. It has great driving dynamics, quiet interior, very tech heavy, and the design, I think, is also one of the most elegant shapes you're going to find in this segment. It really helps to stand out, especially when there's so many of its German and Japanese competitors that you find out on the road. Now, this all-new version being the T8, I think is a little bit overkill for me. I'd probably just recommend the T6 if you guys don't need all the technological advancements, and also the fuel economy isn't that much better than what you get in the T5 or the T6 model. Now, with all that said, this is an all-new model, so it's probably going to cost you more money to actually buy one, when that's actually not really the case. Because the old one offered front-wheel drive, it started at around $40,900. This now starts at $41,500 with all-wheel drive, which actually makes it $500 more. However, all-wheel drive is now standard. Now, that's for a base Momentum model. If you guys want to go up to the sportier R design, that's going to cost you about $3,000 more. The Inscription is another $4,000 more. It's about $45,000 to start. Now, the T8 model is about $3,000 more. This one is the T8, so it's $8,000 more than the T6 model. So that represents a pretty high jump, and it does make the new one more expensive, but it does have more technology. Now, that being said, this model actually comes with a $5,000 federal tax credit. If you guys purchase this, Uncle Sam will send you a check at the end of the year for $5 grand, which kind of brings the total cost of from this to the T6 about $3,000. Now, my tester is fully loaded. It's basically got the, you know, advanced package, the technology package, the convenience package. It has the Bowers & Wilkins audio, the air suspension. All in, my tester is stickered for just around $71,500, which is an eye-watering amount of money. It's literally twice the price of what you're going to spend on some of its Japanese rivals. However, if you start comparing it to the German competitors like the Mercedes-AMG GLC 43 or the SQ5, this is kind of right in line with that. And if you guys go for the T6, you're going to save that $8,000 right off the bat. Or if you just skip the air suspension or the Bowers & Wilkins audio, a T6 is going to be around $58,000, which I think is a little bit more reasonable. With all that said, though, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on this 2018 Volvo XC60 T8. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, make sure you follow me on Instagram on Redline, at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and if you haven't done so, please subscribe to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you all in the next video.